Lamentations, Chapter 1. How forlorn the city lies, once teeming with people. How like a widow is she, once mistress of the nations, a princess among the cities. She has now become a slave. She spends her nights weeping, drenching her cheeks with tears. Who is there to comfort her? Among all her lovers, all her friends have betrayed her and have become her enemies. Humiliated, exhausted, Judah has gone into exile. But she finds no rest among the nations when she sojourns. Her pursuers have overtaken her where there is no way of escape. All roads to Zion are in mourning. No one comes to her feasts. Her gates are deserted. Her priests groan. Her virgins grieve. What bitter anguish she suffers! She is at the mercy of her foes, who enjoy prosperity and power. Yahweh Himself has made her suffer for all her iniquity. Children driven into captivity take the lonely road to exile. Gone from the daughter of Zion is all her majestic splendor. Her rulers, like hearts that find no pasture, have fled helplessly before the oppressors. Jerusalem recalls her days of wandering and affliction. Her people fell into the hands of her foes, and there was no help. Haters gloated over her downfall and laughed at her destruction. Greatly has Jerusalem sinned. She has become as a thing unclean, honored before, but now despised by those who have seen her naked. She herself groans in dismay and turns her face away. Filth clings to her skirt. She gave no thought to her doom, and so her fall came suddenly, with no one to offer comfort. Look, O Yahweh, upon my misery, for my enemy has overcome me. She has seen how the enemy has laid hands on her treasures. She has seen how the nations have defiled her sanctuary. Those peoples you have not allowed to come into your assembly. All her people groan as they search for bread just to keep themselves alive. They give their jewels for food. Look, Yahweh, and mark how I have been despised. All you who pass by, look and see. Is there any calamity like this inflicted on me by Yahweh on the day of His burning anger? From above He sent a fire down into my very bones. He ensnared my feet and threw me down, and left me in pain the whole day long. He bound my sins into a yoke and fastened them together, then set them upon my neck and caused my strength to fail. Yahweh gave me into the hands of those I cannot withstand. Yahweh has spurned the bravest of my fighters. He has summoned an army to crush my young warriors. Yahweh has trodden in His winepress Judah's virgin daughter. This is what I weep about, what makes my tears well up. No one is near to restore my spirit, no one at hand to console me. My children are desolate, for the enemy has triumphed. Zion stretches out her hands, but there is no one to give comfort. Yahweh has decreed for Jacob that his neighbors become his foes. As an unclean thing among them has Jerusalem become. Yahweh acts justly, for I have defiled His order. Listen, all you peoples, and see how I suffer. My young men and maidens have all gone into exile. I cried for help to my lovers, but they betrayed me. My priests and my elders perished in the city. They sought anything to eat, but finally they had to die. Look, Yahweh, upon my distress. All within me is in anguish. My heart recoils within me. I know that I have been rebellious. See, outside the sword that kills, and within death that stalks. People have heard my moaning, but no one comes to comfort me. My foes have known of my suffering. They rejoice at what you have done. Hasten the day you have proclaimed, that they may be even as I am. Let their evil come before you, and deal with them as you have dealt with me, on account of my sins. Great indeed is my groaning. How sick at heart I am. Lamentations, chapter 2. Oh, how Yahweh in his anger has despised the daughter of Zion. Israel's glory he has flung from heaven down to earth, unmindful of his footstool on the day of his wrath. Without pity, Yahweh has shattered in Jacob every dwelling. He has torn down in his anger the ramparts of Judah's daughter. He has thrown her rulers and her king to the ground dishonored. He has cut down in his anger the horn of Israel's might. He has withdrawn his right hand at the approach of the enemy. In Jacob, he has blazed like a fire. He has devoured all around. Like an enemy, he has bent his bow, his right hand steadying the arrow. All our pride of manhood he slew, as he took his stand as a foe, pouring out fury like fire upon the tent of Zion's daughter. The Lord has become an enemy, who has laid Israel in ruins. He has destroyed all her palaces, and laid waste her fortresses. He has multiplied the tears of the daughters of Judah. Yahweh has wrecked her dwelling, laid waste her place of meeting. He has made Zion forget her appointed feasts and Sabbaths. He has spurned in his fierce wrath king and prophet and priest. The Lord has rejected his altar, has forsaken his sanctuary. He has handed over the walls of her tower to the enemy, whose triumphant shouts are heard in the temple of Yahweh. Yahweh resolved to tear down the ramparts of Zion's daughter. He stretched out the measuring line. He did not relent from bringing ruin. He made both wall and rampart moan, till together they crumbled down. Her gates have sunk into the ground. Broken and removed are their bars. King and rulers live in exile among the nations. No more message for their prophets, no more visions from Yahweh. The elders of the daughter of Zion sit in silence upon the ground, their heads sprinkled with dust, their bodies wrapped in sackcloth, while Jerusalem's young women bow their heads to the ground. With weeping my eyes are spent, my soul is in torment, because of the downfall of the daughter of my people, because children and infants faint in the open spaces of the town. To their mothers they say, "Where is the bread and wine?" as they faint like wounded men in the streets and public squares, as their lives ebb away in their mother's arms. To what can I compare you, O daughter of Jerusalem? Who can save or comfort you, O virgin daughter of Zion? Deep as the sea is your affliction, and who can possibly heal you? Your prophets' visions were worthless and false. Had they warned of your sins, your fate might have been averted. But what they gave you instead were false, misleading signs. Passers-by shudder. Some clap their hands at the sight. Others wag their heads at the fate of the daughter of Jerusalem. Is this the city that was called the loveliest, the joy of the world? All your enemies open wide their mouths against you. They gnash their teeth, they hiss, they crow. We have destroyed her. This is the day we have waited for. We have lived to see it happen. Yahweh has accomplished His purpose. He has fulfilled His word, which He decreed in the days of old. He overthrew you merciless. He made your enemies joyful and gave the power to crush you. Cry out to the Lord, O wall of the daughter of Zion. Oh, let your tears flow day and night like a river. Give yourself no relief. Grant your eyes no respite. Get up, cry out in the night, as the evening watches start. Pour out your heart like water in the presence of the Lord. Lift up your hands to Him for the lives of your children who faint with hunger at the corner of every street. Look, Yahweh, and answer. Why have you treated us like this? Why must women eat their little ones whom they have nursed in their arms? Why must priest and prophet be slaughtered in the sanctuary of the Lord? In the dust of the streets lie the young and the old, both virgins and young men, all fallen by the sword. You have killed on the day of your fury. You have slaughtered without mercy. As for a feast day, you bade terrors to come from every side. There was on the day of your anger neither fugitive nor survivor. My enemy has murdered all whom I bore and reared. Lamentations, Chapter 3. I am a man who has known calamity from the rod of His wrath. He has driven and brought me into darkness, not into the light. He turns His hand against me alone all the day long, again and again. He has worn away my flesh and skin. He has broken all my bones. He assails me and surrounds me with tribulation and bitterness. He leaves me to dwell in darkness, like those who have long been dead. He has walled me in without escape. He has weighed me down with chains. I could not even cry for help, for He has stopped my prayer. He bars my way with stones. He left me helplessly alone. Like a bear lying in ambush, like a lion waiting for its prey, He lunged at me, tore me to pieces, and left me alone and helpless. Then He drew His bow and aimed His arrow at me. He pierced my sides with arrows from His quiver. I have become a laughing stock, a topic of songs for all the peoples. He has sated me with bitter food. He has made me drunk with wormwood. He has broken my teeth with gravel and thrown me down in the ashes. He has deprived my soul of peace till I have forgotten happiness. Now I say, gone are my hopes and all my confidence in the Lord. Recalling my affliction and homelessness is wormwood and gall. Thinking it over and over makes my soul downcast. But this, when I ponder, is what gives me hope. Yahweh's love abides unceasingly. His compassion is never consumed. Every morning it is renewed, and His love remains ever faithful. My portion is Yahweh, says my soul. On Him shall I rely. Yahweh is good to those who hope in Him, to souls who search for Him. It is rewarding to wait in silence for the Lord's salvation. It is good for man to bear the yoke from his youth. Let him sit alone in silence when Yahweh fastens the yoke on him. Let him put his lips to the dust. There may still be hope. Let him offer his cheek to be struck. Let him be overwhelmed with insult. For it is not forever that the Lord rejects man. In the abundance of His love He punishes, but has compassion for he does not willingly abase or afflict the human race. To trample underfoot the prisoners of the land, to deny a man his rights in the presence of the Most High, to deprive people of justice, the Lord does not approve of this. Who can command and execute what the Lord has not willed? From the mouth of the Most High come all things, good or bad. Why should then mortals complain when punished for their sin? Let us search and examine our ways and return to the Lord. Let us lift up our hearts and hands to God in heaven and say, We have sinned and rebelled, and you have not forgiven us. Clothed in anger, you have pursued us without mercy. You have wrapped yourself in clouds so that no prayer can reach you. You have reduced us to dust and refuse among the nations. Our foes have opened wide their mouths against us. Terror is our lot, pitfall, ruin, and desolation. Great is my grief over the downfall of the daughter of my people. No respite, no relief, as my tears flow ceaselessly, till the Lord looks down from heaven and sees. My soul will grieve in torment for the women of my city. Like a bird, I have been hunted by my foes without cause. They flung me alive into a pit and cast stones at me. As the waters closed over my head, I thought I would never again live. Out of the depths I called on your name, O Yahweh. You heard. You have not been deaf to my cry for relief. When I called, you even came near and told me not to fear. O Lord, you took up my case and redeemed my life. You have seen the wrong they did me. Hold my cause. You have seen how resentfully they plotted to destroy my life. O Yahweh, you have heard the insults hurled at me, their insidious plots. You have been aware of their thoughts. They are muttering against me all day long. Look at them sitting or standing, mocking me in their song. Repay them as they deserve, according to their deeds, O Yahweh. Harden their hearts, hold them under your curse. Pursue and destroy them in fury from under the heavens, O Yahweh. Lamentations, chapter 4. How tarnished the gold has become! The fine gold has lost its luster. Why, the sacred stones lie strewn at every street corner. O the precious sons of Zion, once worth their weight in gold, but now reckoned no more than earthen jars from a potter's mold. Even jackals bare their breasts to suckle their young, but my people have become heartless like ostriches in the desert land. In thirst, the infant's tongue cleaves to the roof of its mouth. Children are begging for alms, but there is no one to help them. Those accustomed to fine food now lie dying in the streets. Those accustomed to wear purple now lie destitute upon the ash heaps. The punishment of my people is greater than that of Sodom, which was overthrown in an instant without a helping hand. Brighter than snow were their rulers, even whiter than milk. Their bodies rosier than coral, their beauty as radiant as sapphires. Now they look blacker than soot, unrecognized in the streets. Their emaciated form shows lack of food, their skin shriveled and dry as wood. Better to have died by the sword than to have perished in hunger. The famine-stricken people perish and slowly, wretchedly pass away. Once loving mothers or women have cooked their own children and made them their food. Such has been the crash of my people. Yahweh has given full vent to his wrath, pouring out his fierce anger. He has kindled a fire in Zion, which has consumed her foundation. Never had kings believed, nor the world thought possible, that the enemy could break through the gates of Jerusalem. But this happened because of the priests who sinned, because of the prophets who transgressed, shedding in our midst the blood of the just. They wandered like blind men, groping through the streets, so defiled with blood that none could touch their garments. Go away, people cried at them. Do not touch us, you are unclean. They became fugitives wandering about, but even the nations would drive them out. Yahweh himself has dispersed them. No longer does he watch over them. The priests are shown no honor, the elders are given no favor. Our watchmen strained their eyes, looking for help in vain. We anxiously waited for an ally, who failed to save us. Like dogs, our enemies hounded us and kept us off the streets. As our end drew near, we knew our days are numbered. Swifter were our pursuers than the eagles in the sky. Over the hills they chased us, they waylaid us in the wilderness. Our life's breath, Yahweh's anointed, was taken captive in their pit. He of whom we said, in his protection we shall live among the nations. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, you who dwell in the land of Uz. But you shall be drunk and stripped bare, for to you also the cup will pass. Your ordeal, daughter of Zion, will end, for your exile will not be prolonged. But Edom's daughter will be chastised, and her wickedness will be exposed. Lamentations chapter 5. Remember, Yahweh, what has befallen us. Look and see our disgrace. Our home handed over to strangers, our inheritance to foreigners. We are as orphans, fatherless, and yearly widowed are our mothers. Our drinking water we must buy, for our own wood we have to pay. With the yoke stifling our breath, without rest we work to death. We have bowed down to Egypt and to Assyria just to subsist. Our ancestors who sinned are no more, but we bear their guilt. Slaves rule us, and there is no one to rescue us from their hands. We brave the desert heat and the sword just to get our hard-earned food. Our skin is hot like a furnace, dried up and shriveled by hunger. Ravished are the wives in Zion, the virgins in the towns of Judah. Princes are hung up by their hands, elders shown no respect. Young men toil at the millstones, boys stagger under heavy loads. The old have shunned the city gate, the young their music. From our hearts joy is gone. We danced then, but now we lament. The garlands have fallen from our heads. Woe upon us, for we have sinned. Over all this our hearts are sick, and our eyes have grown weak. For we see Mount Zion desolate, the jackals prowl within. You, O Yahweh, forever reign. Your throne endures from age to age. Why then should you abandon us? Why forget us for so long a time? Lead us to you again, O Lord, that we may be restored. Renew our days as of old. Have you utterly rejected us? Is there no end to your wrath against us?